and then they're going to recoup and start all
Yeah,
over
but I don't know.
again.
In all reality, as you seem to be suggesting exactly that in all reality the terror factories are going to close tomorrow. But have you done operationally enough damage uh, for you to have had a tactical success? The assessment seems to be that yes, indeed, this is not just showmanship. There was a logic to what we have struck, why we have struck, and indeed, once we hear the full details very shortly, we will hopefully be announced that yes, tactical high value targets have indeed been taken out, which of course dents the Pakistani capability to undertake their proxy warfare, which doesn't eliminate it, but it does something which has not been done in many decades. In places like Bhawalpur and Muridke, where these people would not have thought that they were in any danger for sure. Okay, so now let's open up Major Shah. Here we are. I'm going to ask you first the obvious practical tactical question. Do you think, do you assess we have actually achieved tactical surprise and therefore have actually had tactical success eliminating high value targets this morning? Okay, all right. Okay, I think he can't hear us or is communicating elsewhere at a similar point of time. Let's get him back when he can actually speak with us because we'll get lost otherwise. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, meanwhile, is with us. Wing Commander, what do you make of that premise? Do you think we've actually achieved the tactical surprise and success, and once we get the details in the DGMO press conference, it was worth it what we did?
See, every bit of what we do inside Pakistan is worth its weight in gold, because you will remember that when we did the surgical strikes in 2016, it bought us peace for 2 years. And when we did the airstrikes in Balakot in 2019, it has bought us peace for 6 years. Here also, this coordinated attack, this Operation Sindoor, I feel that Bharat Mata's forehead has been decorated today with this operation. And the name has been, I don't know whoever chose that name, it couldn't have been just more better. Having said this, tactically, yes, it's a response for the 26 lives that they have dared to have taken, and then Pakistan will think twice before venturing into some kind of an adventure like this in the future. But is it high value? Because yes, a lot of buildings have been targeted. I would agree to that. But is a Hafiz Saeed directly targeted, or a Maulana Masood Asar directly targeted, or a Sayyid Salahuddin or a Dawood Ibrahim? The answer is no. So that is where our unknown gunmen will now be in their full prowl. So that is the day when we are now, I don't think the Indian state is now going to keep quiet. These are going to be, while this is one step which has now quenched the thirst of 1.5 billion Indians, which they have been asking for, crying for at the top of their voice for the last 2 weeks, it augurs well. It has sent a message. It has sent a message to those scoundrels in the Pakistani parliament who've been shouting at the top of their voice that they can do nothing this time. These times it is, they can't take the excuse that only some crows have been down. It is visibly seen. And it is not one target that we have targeted. We have targeted 9 targets. So from the perspective of sending a message, it augurs well. But are they high value? No, I don't consider, because buildings don't matter to me. It doesn't matter whether 8 got killed or 80 got killed or 800 got killed, because these high value targets to me are Asif Munir, are the perpetrators of terrorism themselves, and they need to be singled out, they need to be taken out. Pakistan needs to be dismembered into 5 different units.
Yeah, but obviously we are not liberating Balochistan and POK over the next 48 hours. That's going to be like the collapse of the Soviet Union. It's going to happen internally, it's going to happen economically, which we can probably argue that we are closer to the end than we are to the beginning. So that process has started. But that's not really going to be a military achievement. This indeed has to be a military achievement. Something militarily has happened here. which is different. So my next obvious question is, they've been shelling us, we've been shelling them. All sorts of conversations are going on of what the casualty count will be once we assess the figures. All sorts of conversations are going on of how many Air Force planes of both sides are currently in the air, how many planes have potentially been utilized in sorties, what has happened. I don't want to idly speculate, but it is reasonable to say that a lot of action has happened in the past 3 or 4 hours. It's just not been the 9 strikes. Something has happened beyond that. Do we want to respond to everything Pakistan now does, or do we also now want to de-escalate?
See, de-escalation is not in our hands. As the Indian Army is a very responsible army, so is the Indian Air Force, so is the Indian Navy. It is a calibrated response to everything they do. So if they do something which cannot be overlooked, they will get a response, they will get a proportional response, and it will escalate. It is not any longer in the hands of the Indian state or the leaders to decide, that, let's overlook it. Gone are those days. Gone are the days of 26/11 where we talked about strategic restraint. These scoundrels are not going to budge. They have a stated policy which you and me, we are aware that to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. And that is their stated policy. They use terrorism as a state policy. And they hide behind non-state actors. And now they have these multiple other discourses wherein false flag operations and things like that comes on. So having said this, so it is certainly not in our hands. We need to tell them, you try to look into my eyes, you'll be having a bloody nose every time you try to look.
Okay, I'm going to try to get Ajay back into this. Can we get one of our reporters back in quickly? So, like I said, the sun is shining now along these areas. The shelling has quietened down over the past hour or so. There was very intense shelling between about 2:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. It was most intense around Poonch.